and welcome to This Car Pod, a car podcast with me and Filippo and Kenan, who you know and love. Every week, we're going to start coming to you with This Car Pod. We're going to talk about automotive news, car market trends, what's going on in the sales, buying, and selling market. We're going to talk about stuff that is on our minds, and we're going to take questions from viewers. So a lot to cover, and we're going to cover it every week, and it's going to be great.
Sure is.
And with that in mind, let's start with the news. What do you got?
Let's start with Rivian. They,
Rivian.
a week or two ago, released 2 new models.
Yes.
2.5 new models.
Yes.
Which is very exciting. Right now, their lineup is the R1T and the R1S. But soon,
Nice.
R2T, R2S, R3, wait, that's not right. R2, R3,
I'll
and
take
R3X.
over from here. So there's the R2,
Yeah, I
which
mean,
is this.
To be fair, not my fault.
The R2 is just an R1S that is like scaled down.
Yeah.
like
it is
out.
not an R1T
There's not an R2T
yet.
So there's an SUV and it's scaled down.
Yeah.
$47,000 base price.
Wow.
I'm excited. I think the R1S looks great, is great, but it's too big.
It's huge.
Well, this,
like a lot
I
of
think
people.
this is probably the most important car they're going to make.
Yeah.
This one, if this sells, it will cement their existence.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
this will be critical to making sure
That's
they
so
stay
true.
around.
This is the X3, XC60 type of size of car.
Yeah.
Right.
So like that's
Which is
it.
the best
Model
selling
Y
market.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the
gonna be
market.
crucial.
That car is going to be really, really, really make or break for them. Like you said, 330 mile range. That's the league. That's pretty good.
That's pretty solid, yeah, out of the gates.
That's the car. However, the internet has gotten far more
Love
excited
the
by
R3 and R3X. So the R3 is even smaller. I
Smaller.
assume it's XC40 size,
Yes.
X1, that kind of subcompact SUV, I guess we're calling them now.
Yeah.
And the R3X is a slightly sportier version.
Right.
The only difference based on the photos is wheels.
Yeah.
The wheels are a little bigger, pushed out a little more, or at least wider.
They look
and it just
really
looks
cool.
So
they
cool.
look really cool. They're Volkswagen. They have a Volkswagen Golf like
I know.
hatchback shape.
It's
They
so
look
cool.
absolutely awesome.
Well, I like the trend that SUVs are coming back to being more angular looking.
Yeah.
I really like that, and I think that pulls it off in like a smooth but yet still angular looking
And
design.
what
It's
about
really
this
nice.
lie that we were sold by electric car makers that they all had to have this flowy
Right.
teardrop
Yeah, what
shape
happened
for
to that?
range? Then Rivian shows up with their
330 miles, which
boxy-
is competitive
Right, they
currently.
can blow away a 488. It's like, nah,
Yeah.
never mind.
Yeah,
If you have
and,
enough-
it
Right.
still goes 300 whatever
Right.
miles.
You know, it's the American mentality of like muscle cars, just more power.
More
solves it
power,
all.
more battery,
Power
more
solves it all.
weight.
Don't
But
need
it doesn't-
aero.
It doesn't
matter.
matter to most
I'll take
people.
it.
But the
They won't
R3
know.
and the R3X, which are further away apparently.
Yeah, 2027.
27. So the R2 is like 26.
Yeah,
which
so
is
we're
already
still 2 years away from that car being out.
right. And
which is
Rivian, we're not
disappointing.
so sure about how they're.
No, Rivian. it's no Fisker, which we'll talk about in a minute. They'll actually get there. But I want to talk about these cars for another second. How small are they actually? So the Ioniq 5, when it came out, everybody thought, oh, this is like a hot hatch size
Yeah,
car.
and it turned out
but it's
pretty
actually like a RAV4.
Yeah.
Thereabouts.
Right, and then
So it's so hard to tell in photos.
right, and for scale,
But
they
this is
gave us
XC60
mountains.
size, right?
We got
right.
mountains.
Could be
They're
huge.
smaller than the mountains.
Could
We
be the
know
size of a
that.
chimney. We don't really know.
Yeah,
Size
it's
of
an
a
interesting
chimney.
thing.
Wow. Interesting reference from
I don't know how big they're going to be, but obviously based on the pricing, you can assume XC60, XC40. So
those are competitive prices.
yeah, if
I mean,
they're real.
Obviously, it's 2 years away.
If they're
real. Because remember what happened to
R1S,
Rivian
yeah.
last time?
R1T even.
Well, and Cybertruck, another great example. Like,
Oh,
Right.
all of them. I
Yeah,
mean,
all of
but Rivian specifically really messed
Yeah.
it all up.
Prices
right?
are up, what, 20 grand for an R1S compared to what they launched at?
Yeah. And remember, they tried to shove the new price down people's
Right.
throats. Yeah.
They
So
backed.
we'll see how it actually turns out. One of the things I've learned with these electric cars, they do these massive 10-year ahead of time reveals, is that they never know what's good. So between Cybertruck announcement and Cybertruck
Right.
sale, there was an enormous amount of inflation.
Yeah. And also,
Yes.
EV tax credit changes.
Yeah.
I mean, that the Cybertruck, I don't think it's eligible. And the new Model 3, also not eligible.
But it probably was when they announced
right,
it.
exactly. So
And
I think
so
they accounted for that
in their
$7,500.
So we'll
the
see what
R2
happens
might
here.
be, as might the R3, but we'll find out.
Well, we have
2
to
years.
assume they will. They're probably going to still be built in Illinois.
Right, and they're smaller and cheaper, which is the R1S's problem.
On the subject of smaller and cheaper electric SUVs,
Ooh, where's it going?
Kenan, move us along to...
The car that's going to be 10 grand in about a year?
Fisker Ocean.
Okay, so the news story is that Fisker is flirting with bankruptcy and has paused production.
Yep.
The question is, in my mind, what if you got one of these?
Well, then you go to your friend who has like a Fisker Karma. It's like, well, what do you do? And
That's
it's
true.
like,
And you know what? Those have maintained their value okay compared to... Dude, they're still like 25. I think they should be 6.
Just there's one closeout cars in bits today. Well, we'll see. But keep in mind that the Fisker Karma has an Ecotech 4-cylinder, so any GM dealer can service that.
Maybe
That's
it was,
right.
but
And a battery.
it's made into a plug-in
It's not a standalone vehicle. Now, it is built by a reputable manufacturer in Magna Steyr that's actually building the cars.
Right.
But they have had some issues and reliability issues already.
You know what's interesting? We had one here in the office, and I kind of liked it.
It's great.
I thought it was
think
cool.
it looks the one we had a couple glitches. Now Marquez had Brownlee, and he kind of tipped all this thing off, and that kind of sent things slowing. In addition to Rivian Fisker already being in kind of a difficult place, but we had one in the office. I drove it. I thought it was pretty nice.
It legitimately was super cool.
There were a couple glitches, but there are glitches. I mean, there's every new
I know,
EV I
but
test.
when the manufacturer goes out of business, that means no more over-the-air updates. That means no fixes. That means no servicing.
That's true.
And it will need all of those things.
Unless someone pops in and...
They were talking about a partnership with Nissan to produce vehicles.
That
was maybe 2 weeks ago. The thought was that Nissan would step in. Sounds like they're
not going to. Okay.
Who's going to buy them? What technology do they have that's valuable? What name recognition do they have that's valuable? I think the answer is none.
When the Lehman Brothers eventually sold,
Right.
they sold for the value of their building.
Right.
Does
Fisker own a building?
What's Fisker's
No,
building?
because they don't even have a factory because they're building it right next year. They have contracts. They have a car that is honestly pretty good, and I think with a little bit of work
And the Pear and the other one
which got a ton of interest in press. I also have to say,
no money.
This compared to the Blazer EV, compared to the Honda Prologue, this is a much more desirable car.
Yeah.
If it wasn't from a brand that I think is questionable, and that was always my thought with it. It's like, this is cool, it drives well, it looks cool, it has some features that nobody else has. The brand probably will fail.
The other piece which was interesting
before,
was...
It did already.
So why not just do it again?
Hey, maybe Bob Lutz will buy it again.
Maybe we'll go back to... Maybe we'll remain with the knowledge that Fisker peaked with the BMW Z8.
I mean, not a bad place to peak.
Right.
But yeah, I don't disagree.
Their original model was to not have any dealers and to do direct consumer sales. They tried to pivot a couple months ago to having dealers. So you would see outreaches to dealer groups saying, hey, do you want to buy a Fisker franchise?
Yeah, interesting.
Clearly, neither of these approaches worked for them. Or maybe one would have worked, but they didn't have time.
When something like this happens, it really puts into perspective just how incredible the Tesla story really is.
It really is surprising.
That's a great point.
We all think that Elon is insane, but oh my god!
But they exist as a legitimate company, and you see them everywhere.
They're the only ones.
Not only that, but the Model Y outsold the Honda Accord.
Right.
Yep.
Model Y was the best-selling car.
When you think about how, these guys know what they're doing, and they made some choices that were better objectively than Tesla's choices, like not building a factory in California of all places. Like it's hard to produce things here, and still,
I think that Tesla had the benefit of an incredible time to raise capital when they were growing, but quite the response in the stock market that Fisker has just not had. Right? They have not had the access to cheap capital that Tesla did and still does.
But the fact that even those two things happened, that's even beyond the story, because the amazing thing happened almost before all that, which was they convinced people to invest, and then they convinced people to get all excited, which has been fueling the stock price. And you're seeing, because this is a better product than the original the Tesla Roadster, and all that crap. But you can't. It doesn't matter. They show up with a great product, and it's still incredibly hard.
We see them around San Diego.
There's
3 or 4.
I saw a couple in New York City this week.
Like, what are those people going to do?
Oh,
also, they're all leased.
They're all leased. Yeah, nobody's bought one. Which is going to be a problem in itself, because when those leases come up, whatever residual Fisker gave them is going to be...
That 3 years from now is a great time to buy Fisker Ocean, everybody.
All right, pull up. What's our next news story here?
Marcello Gandini.
The father of the Lamborghini Countach has died. Marcello Gandini. Filippo, you're Italian. Would you like to say a few words?
I have very little to say. Unfortunately, Kenan, this is your topic
this is my realm. Although, Marcello Gandini, his career, and just when you look back at the cars that he created, it's unbelievable. It's hard to imagine now one person being responsible for that. You don't really hear as much about that. Like, Ferrari has taken all their cars inside. We don't know. It's a bunch of nameless people. That's Ferrari that designs
Can you name the BMW designer right now?
I don't know who it is right now.
Even
but
if you could, the concept, you're exactly right. The concept is different. Gandini took a pen and a paper and did this. Right. Now there's a studio. There are many people. The guy who's the designer is actually overseeing a team of
project manager. Basically.
He's overseeing a team of young people with weird glasses. Like that's how you design a car now.
Who all have like air-cooled 911s.
Right.
Yeah, but Marcello Gandini, like, it's just I think of all of his designs, like I love the Montreal. I love like he also did the original BMW 5 Series. He did a lot of really.
I saw one this weekend in New York City. The day he died. And
wow, just like tip of hat. The one design that people probably don't associate with him as much.
But if you look at that, I agree with you. But if you look at that car, you can see the Gandini. It's lines. It's angular. Yeah. He was told to take his design language, tone it down for the masses, and make a four-door, and it worked.
It worked, but without question, of course, the big one that he designed is the Countach, undoubtedly. As we're staring at one that's over there, which is great. But yeah, I mean, it is sad when these automotive legends pass away. But additionally, like, it was amazing he's still alive. To be honest, he lived. And
you know who else is still alive is Giugiaro, and they were kind of competitors. They sort of butted heads when they were in their 20s and their kind of peak of design. Right. Giugiaro ended up designing more desirable cars.
Yeah. Yes,
well, a larger number of desirable cars.
Right. Yeah, the portfolio itself,
not a higher percentage.
Yeah,
but he is a total legend.
It also puts into perspective, at least in my opinion, how young the automobile is in reference to a lot of other technology. Like, it's this guy, there's just a legend who built a car that will forever be considered timeless because it's just so insane looking.
It wasn't that long ago.
It really wasn't that long ago.
And at the time, it was a totally radical thing. I mean, scissor doors, the concept had never been, he created it. Yeah. It was the Countach was the first car that ever had it. First production car. Because the first actual car was a concept car that he also created. You're right. The car is young, and Gandini had an amazing role in it. And I truly believe the Countach goes down as the craziest looking production car ever.
Without question, because so many years later, it still looks just as insane now, and elicits the same response from people. It's like Countach.
It's like driving a Cybertruck. Driving that car is like driving a Cybertruck around. Yeah. It's still so special, and that is the mark of a great
designer. Yep. So, thank you, Gandini, for your contributions to the automotive.
I'm in awe of all these designers, and so many great Italian designers created so many great
original.
Cars.
When you sit down and draw a car as a kid, you probably drew it looking like a wedge because he did it first. Like, it is hard to imagine like penning something new and original. And like, I just don't have that ability.
This design language is to this day the only thing that Lamborghini uses to design their cars. The hood and windshield are basically one thing. The sideline that goes sort of the way down the car. I mean, he's still designing. And the Miura didn't have it, which he also created. The Miura didn't have it, but then this car had it, and it came
which
out
also
in the 70s.
Think about that. Like, he came up with the Miura, which itself was an innovative design. It was beautiful, and then he was like, nah. Angles now, and he just like went in a completely different direction, and both of them are exquisite. Like, it really is impressive. So, a true genius. I love this picture that he's just like, I'm not concerned. I just want to go have lunch now, and I'm kind of. I know I did the Countach.
Too bad he's next to an anniversary, but
I know that's the other thing he's thinking is like, man, they messed this up.
Well, I was going to ask, do you think
that Horacio Pagani really messed with my design? He should have leave it alone.
They gave this to an Argentine.
Why did you an Italian accent? Just
because he's Italian.
Sorry, that was an Italian accent.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think that when Lamborghini came out with the new Countach, he was like, okay, it's time?
No, don't you remember what happened?
Yeah, he came out strongly against it.
He issued a press release.
This is incredible.
Saying that he hated it and he disavowed it and he's not part of it.
What do you think they'll just kind of end? Like, okay, it's time.
Right. Okay, next news story. Gandini,
Ooh, Emira.
Lotus Emira is finally being delivered, which is a big deal because they hadn't been. This is the Emira story. I'm going to tell it to you. It's a wild story. Do you know this already?
Of course, but you go ahead.
The Emiras are built. They are sent to the port. The California Air Resources Board would not certify them for sale, which doesn't only mean they can't be sold in California. It means they can't be sold in, there's like 15 states that follow California. It's Hawaii and a couple states in the Northeast and Oregon, but And thanks. And so they were certified for sale in the other 36 states. And Lotus decided to hold them because what they didn't want was someone to buy the car in New Mexico and then sell it to a Californian, and then it couldn't be registered there.
That was a thing. 49 state cars were
well, now
a real issue.
And now it would be 36 states.
Right.
So they waited until they had CARB certification. They finally do, and Emiras are being delivered. These cars have been sitting at dealerships, not even in California.
And Lotus needs the money.
Lotus needs the money.
And Lotus dealers, man. Poor them.
The good news is they are coming out with a full-size electric sport utility vehicle.
That's a
Electra.
Electra. What's it?
This is the Emira.
Yeah, okay. I thought there was one that had a Y in it somewhere.
That's Filippo in a nutshell.
Yeah. What's wrong with Lotus?
I don't know what the sports car, the desirable one is, but the one that nobody wants, that's the most practical utilitarian
What is he
vehicle.
talking about with a Y in it? I'm thinking of every Lotus. Elan, Eclat,
The
Elise.
Emea is
Oh,
the
you're thinking
hyper
of
one.
the supercar.
It's a hyper one. Yeah. Okay.
Well, that's it was still not here, but this is very exciting. I personally am like really interested in these cars. You know, Harry Metcalf has been driving his a ton and just raves about how good it is. And I think they're really exciting.
Yeah, although he's British.
Yeah,
and
right.
we cannot
British bias.
accept the words of British
Yeah.
people about British cars.
Right, but
So true.
Right, that's not untrue. But still,
Or the
he's
Jaguar.
put I think something crazy like almost 10,000 miles on his, and it's been.
And
excellent.
I do trust Harry. Of all
I
the
do
British
trust.
people.
Yeah, he's yes, I agree.
the only British person.
But I'm like, this is exciting.
I
Like,
could see this being a
I'm
Kevin
really
car,
into
by
this
the way.
car. The thing that blows me away is like the 4-cylinder and the 6-cylinder have no distinguishing exterior like differences.
Yeah.
Oh, is
they
that
look
true?
Yeah.
the same. You can't tell.
I only drove a 6-cylinder. The 4-cylinder still wasn't available and may still not be.
What did you think?
I don't know.
You drove
Yeah, I don't know. If
I
it's
loved it.
available
I
here.
thought it was great. There's a lot of drama to the look of the car. I thought it was excellent. But it's a lot like an Evora, and I think it's going to have the same trajectory, which is it's cool, but and it will
think
be
it
bought by
looks
people
better
who
than
want to
an
be a
Evora.
little different.
The
Yeah,
Evora
for
was
sure.
a bit boring.
But like most people are going to buy a Porsche, and I think that's just
Yeah.
the reality of the Lotus
Unless we were going to buy a Porsche.
situation.
I think, but yeah, for a significant number of sports car manufacturers, like the default is the 911. So
Oh, this is what?
Cayman.
Cayman size?
yes, it came in,
Somewhere
but still,
in between.
still. I mean, that also in this
Cayman
class.
GTS. This is a tough sell over a Cayman GTS given dealer network,
Yeah.
and we're not sure is Lotus around.
Yeah.
But fortunately, with their Kia EV9 competitor, they will cement their status as a great brand.
Hey, give them credit. It's an EQE competitor.
British manufacturers just make wild decisions.
Dude, it's
I had to
not.
think about
it's
that
like
for a second.
7,000 pounds.
Yeah, which Lotus
EQS
famously the recipe was
Yeah, right.
remove weight
Simplify and add lightness.
Yeah, and
Or throw more battery in there.
or make
Whatever.
it really heavy.
Or make a 3-row, 8,000-pound SUV. No, I don't know what it actually
It's
weighs, but it's
smaller
heavy.
than that,
but it's
no,
heavy.
Philippe, it is not smaller than that.
it's the same
long
weight
is it?
as like a.
Well, it's the same weight, but the
Aircraft
Hummer
carrier.
EV is 13,000 pounds.
5820.
That's
That's 3 Elises.
that is a heavy vehicle.
Yeah, but look up what like a EQE weighs.
The EQE is not made by Lotus.
Yeah.
Well, obviously.
Again.
But is it any lighter than its competitors?
EQE SUV is 5,300.
Wow. So no.
No.
Okay. All right. Well, good luck,
It's a
Lotus.
brave new world for Lotus, for
Brave new
sure.
world for Lotus.
All right, Kenan, give us the next great. This.
Oh.
Have you heard of this? I only
Oh.
put this in for you.
Yes, 'cause it's a $51,000 option, right?
This is
Something
the
like that,
Range
yeah.
Rover Sport Park City Edition.
Yep.
it's just ridiculous.
If it was a full size, it would have been the Aspen Edition, but it's the Sport, so they did the Park City
nice,
Edition.
very
Thank you.
nice.
For you
and
niche rich people that are thinking about where to go on vacation.
It's
So
so
good
niche.
advice right here.
Yeah, right. If you need help, I can help you decide.
Can you buy a full size? Good Aspen. Can
Aspen.
you not?
Then you're in Park City or Breckenridge.
Right.
The Range Rover Sport Park City Edition is very limited. There are 7. Why would I even tell you this?
There's 7 individual.
Yeah, they're making
cars.
7. So
Are
you
they
want to?
individually numbered or no?
Do you want you? If you could get all the 6 guys together who bought it, you could probably use a Sharpie. And, do you want one? You have to go to your dealer and say, "Hey, I want." They're gonna say, "Oh, I'm sorry, there's only 7. We're not getting one." I don't even know how do
do
we
you
get one of
allocate
7?
that?
The answer is Land Rover's going to shove it down the throat of their dealers who are going to be like, we don't want this. And the reason they don't want it is,
It's going to be what? Like Land Rover, Westchester, and
yeah, probably.
And
But the dealer
two
in
other
Salt Lake will
dealers.
get one.
Yeah.
The reason the Land Rover dealers don't want it is $51,000 more than a regular Range Rover Sport autobiography. Not just a regular
What do you
Sport.
get for that $51,000?
Okay, I'm glad you asked.
Yeah.
You get skis.
Ooh,
Now,
that's
look-
be valuable.
Yes. We'll
Are
come
these
back to
skis
that.
that are made for your ski
No,
preferences?
they're made by
and height.
what's the
and
name of
weight.
the company that makes them?
Oh, I didn't.
I looked into this, but the company
There
that makes
was
them is, like,
nothing in the
very
world that
design
could
forward.
justify.
But, like,
I would. I'm a skier.
If,
I wouldn't
if
ski in
Doug and I need different skis,
they're
for a bunch of
$1,500. They're $1,500 skis. So to be
but
clear,
like
the skis
can you at
normally
least
cost $15
choose
for a pair.
The size, the length, because it matters. All right.
I don't know.
Maybe it
That's
doesn't
a very
matter.
good
anymore. I
question.
haven't bought new skis in a long time.
They're $1,500 skis, but it's a $51,000.
Right. So
Right.
of the $51,000, $1,500
All right,
skis.
okay. we're
Skis,
accounting for that.
There's a roof rack.
Ooh.
Okay.
Which is not shown in the photo.
Not shown in the photo.
Incredibly. So not an
But it's
attractive roof
there.
rack.
Take our word for it. There's a ski carrier.
Sure, like a nice bag.
No, I think it must go on the roof.
Okay.
And my personal favorite. Did you read all this?
No.
Personal massagers. You like plug it in and like stick it somewhere on your body, and it like.
They don't have massaging seats. Like, is
No,
that...
it's got. I'm sure it's got that, but après ski.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm familiar. Okay.
You get into your Park City edition.
Right.
One of 7.
Right.
And then you turn on the massager. You put the ski on the ski rack.
Yep.
And you turn on the massager.
Are they in the seats?
No, they're.
I'm so confused by this.
You
personal.
move them. You take them with you.
Is this
So like, is this like when people want massaging seat but bought an '07 Subaru Outback, so they like put like a seat cover?
No,
that
it has
massagers?
nothing to do with the seats. It's unrelated to the car. It's like a device that you can buy on eBay or
Got it.
Amazon.
Got it. Okay.
But they're putting
All right.
it. They're giving it
I
to
think
you.
we've gone to like $47,000 of value here. where are the last $4,000?
That's the color. They're all white to match the slopes.
right? Is this the most cynical car currently?
No, because they've done another one. I can't remember what it was. It was like the Miami Beach. It was a similar 1 of 6 thing. It was also embarrassing.
How much do you think will be worth extra on cars and beds in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years?
I think that the option package will hold $0
But the color is
of its
nice.
value.
And the rarity won't add to
Color's
it either.
nice. No, people at the Park City edition will be like, the what?
But then people are going to complain in the comments that, oh, they don't have the personal massagers anymore. So that detracts from
And the
value.
skis. And this
The
has been a
skis,
problem before.
right.
The Volkswagen Jetta K2. Do you remember this car?
No, of course
okay.
not.
In the 90s, Volkswagen created a Jetta called the K2 edition, and there
Okay.
was a Jetta called the Trek edition.
I remember the Trek edition. They come with a bike?
The Trek came with a Trek mountain
I
bike.
didn't know that.
The K2 came with K2 skis.
Nice.
The Lexus coaches came with coach bags. Everyone lost them.
Fascinating.
All of that stuff is gone.
Yeah. I didn't realize that the Trek edition came with a bike.
Yeah.
I lived in Wisconsin for a long time, and Trek is based right outside of Madison, and you would see a ton of Jetta Trek editions.
They knew
I didn't know
that it
came
was
with a
like
bike.
the right demo for
Right, right.
Jettas at
I
that
just didn't
time. It
realize
was
they
like
came with a bike.
young, active
They were
people.
a grand on Craigslist. The cars. I don't know about the bikes. Maybe the
Probably
bikes were also a
the
grand on
bikes.
Craigslist.
Man, so someone's just riding around out there on one of those bikes, probably not realizing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. How cool.
That it should be reunited with a car.
And therefore double the value of the car.
Now, these skis, to be clear, are made of wood, and I don't think I would necessarily want to
They're
use
made
them.
of wood.
I believe so, if memory serves me. The company that makes these, I really am struggling to remember what it is. They're beautiful. Like they're so pretty you wouldn't want to use them, honestly. Which kind of, useless is kind of the design brief for this car.
What is the story with the mirror in this picture?
Right.
It's AI. It's like Kate
Photoshopped poorly.
Okay, those are our news. We have another
Middleton's
news story.
Team did that one.
Has anything come up today?
We can talk about Audi's naming conventions.
Audi's
Doug already
naming
did this morning,
conventions.
but we'll talk about it again.
Okay, overseas,
Yeah.
Audi has named their cars with 2-digit numbers.
55, 60, and then I don't know, 40 maybe is available.
There were a
too.
bunch, 45,
Yeah.
55.
So like Ken doesn't know this, but it used to be that it was like the Audi A6 3.0T denoted that it had a supercharged 6-cylinder. But you get the point, right? It was like the displacement of the vehicle was somewhere in the name.
Yes.
Then about 5 years ago, overseas, they changed it to be a number that I don't think has any relation. It was just meant to be like if you went to look at an A4,
A4
the
25,
55
A4
was
35,
better
A4
than the
45.
35.
Yeah.
There was no relation. So like Cadillac now names their trim packages based on the Newton meters of torque, not for some reason. So you can get the
Right.
Escalade 600, which doesn't have 600
Yes. Newton meters of torque instead of pound feet. Interesting.
for reasons.
Because it's a larger.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But
'Cause-
Audi announced this week that they will no longer do that. And instead, they will just use nothing to denote trim levels, except that like there's going to be a new Q6 e-tron, which we could talk about in a minute too. It will be the Q6 e-tron. The bigger battery will be the performance, not the bigger motor. The bigger battery will be the performance edition. There'll still be probably an SQ6 and an RSQ6. But from what I can tell, other models just won't have a nomenclature around them at all. So like the A4 will just be the A4, regardless of what powertrain or trim you have.
So that is the end of the news, and now on to market trends. Can I give my market trend first?
Yes.
Yes.
Here's a fact. Subaru BRZs.
Yeah.
Do you know what used early BRZs cost?
They got to be in the teens, low teens.
No, 10.
Whoa.
Wow. Really?
Okay. Interesting.
Now is that like
Kinda wild.
high mileage? Okay. All right.
Well, I mean, sure.
Pull one up.
Unmodified potentially?
Just type in BRZ. We sold one yesterday for like 11, and I was like, I wonder what these are going for.
Wow, 13.4.
Put on lowest price. Put on the lowest price filter.
All right, let's take a look. Lowest price.
It's not hard to find them in the 9 to 13
including
range.
that one was largely stock. Wow. Series Blue was vaguely desirable in 12.5.
Yeah.
Look at that. That's crazy.
Probably has miles, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, 150,000.
150,000.
But you get the
these
point.
are reliable engines, too.
Reliable engines, and this car is super desirable. This car's 10 now. The
That's
BRZ is
amazing.
10 now.
To be, right. And also,
look at this one.
11 years old.
I can't believe
a
you
nice
could get that for
looking
13.5.
Right. I remember everybody complained they were slow. Well,
Who cares?
For 10. I mean, it's a fun car to drive, and it's a fun car to throw around, and
For that small amount of money, it's hard to go wrong. I mean, I think you'd be challenged to find. You can't get an E36 for that anymore. NAs are probably NA Miatas are probably
NAs are like
NAs
a
have gone
little
back
cheaper
down,
than that, but
not by
but
much.
they're also 10 years
To be
older,
fair, and
Right.
20 years
NCs
older.
are
20
the same
years
age
older.
and are also 10 grand.
Yeah, but would you rather have this or an NC? Flat four.
Convertible.
It's a convertible. That's cool. The NC is.
But
a
I
convertible.
normally prefer coupes. So
But this car.
I would
is
rather have a BRZ.
super desirable, incredible tuner culture. This car has gotten to a point where it's like very ownable and very buyable.
Wow, amazing.
And you can't imagine at 12 or 13 you'd lose money if you bought one and screwed around with it for 2 years.
No, yeah.
Can we talk about a different $10,000 car?
Interesting.
So I have a Fiat 500 Abarth that's worth
Okay.
10 grand. Let's be honest.
That's good.
I frequently consider what other cars I could buy for 10 grand.
Because this is Filippo's car price max.
Correct. I don't spend more than I spent 11,250 on that car, and that's the most.
11,250. Filippo
Yeah.
will never go past
And
11,250.
Abarth are still worth about that, except for some that have gotten real cheap. Cabriolets are kind of floored at 10, but
He's got the
He's got the
500 Abarth market. He's got it all.
Knows
up
it cold.
Yeah.
Didn't
Of course.
we see serial number 121,714 sold for 8,800 the other day?
but something I'm considering as a replacement, Mark 7 GTIs
Yeah.
are also ones with accidents and
Just type
higher
in
miles.
GTI because you'd be
We've
surprised
also
at how
broken up. We've also broken them up.
We have, but
you'd be surprised how cheap GTIs in general are. Mark 7 is this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and
15.
I would, I mean, 15, there was one for 11.4 sold after, presumably just more than that. I bid on one that was 12.
In general, these prices
like,
are like very
that's
reasonable.
The Mark 7, so that's 2017, basically the same till 2022.
Yeah. And still kind of looks the same. And frankly,
kinda
kind of
looks
looks like a Mark 5. Like to people who don't know much
Yeah.
about cars,
But like,
the difference between a Mark
this
5
is
and a brand new one.
car for
Yeah.
$14,000.
Absolutely, it's a great car. I will tell you, your Abarth is more fun. I had a
of
Mark
course,
5.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a Mark 5 GTI.
And no, I know. And the Abarth is more fun.
Yeah.
But plaid seats.
I know. It's got plaid seats. It's got the golf ball shifter.
The Abarth is the
cool.
least Filippo car imaginable. And so I think about what I could get.
Imaginable. No.
No, I
it's the
can
least
I
Filippo
can name
car that
some right
Filippo
now.
is interested in. and the GTI is like the deepest Filippo car that could exist.
Huh.
Wait,
Yeah.
sorry, was
Yeah.
this car that
Because
cheap?
it's
With 54,000 miles.
It's very practical and it's like
Yeah,
very good.
55,000 miles
But
and
it's
no
not as
accidents.
much fun as your Abarth. And you don't like have children or a commute, so you should really just have a car that's kind of that's what the
Drive
Abarth
here
is
most
for.
days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a mile. That's
Takes
what the
6
Abarth
minutes.
is for. Like it's for people who don't need anything practical, who want something kind of fun.
Yeah.
And it's more fun than this. This car is more on the
right.
practical side.
Excellent consumer advice, but also think about it for 10 grand.
Here's a crazy fact for you on the market trends. Type in M4.
Oh, I know
You saw
where this
this?
is going. Yeah,
Jesus.
You saw this yesterday?
I did. Yeah,
We just
this
sold
one.
an M4 for $24,000.
Now it had a lot of
the
miles at
It had
105,000
105.
miles.
It was a first year, and it was
and
a tip.
automatic. Yeah, yeah.
You got to think about buyers for these cars. And the answer is they're people that want to upgrade from a Mustang or a Camaro, but are Mustang Camaro people.
Fine.
I don't want to be associated
Go
with
back.
that
Go
world.
back one. Go back one to the results page. You're gonna. This is the really crazy thing. The next day, we
Yeah.
sold a new the last year or the second to last year with one owner competition with low miles for 56. There's a pretty wide gap,
Probably wide
but
gap.
it's pretty amazing that early M4s
Also,
are
that was a
that
good spec
cheap.
one. I mean, for an automatic
even
one,
this.
executive
I mean,
package.
this is 32. They're getting into the 20s. It's funny because first it was the E46 M3 that became a
Right.
cheap M3.
Well,
you remember that?
all
They
all
eventually
M cars
all do,
go through this.
but it's I don't think of the M4 as that old of a car.
No.
When I see them.
15 doesn't feel a lot long ago, but that was 9 years ago.
9 years ago. And so ultimately these cars are getting to that age, and so this is the new cheap M car. And in 10 more years, we're going to be sitting here being like, man, stick M4 comps are a buy at 30, 35, or 37 or whatever.
What's the cheapest stick we've sold?
Let's see.
Lowest.
And then filter for manual. No, all right. However you prefer to do it is fine.
Let's see.
There you go, though. Those are
There you go.
low to mid.
Also, by the way, it points out once again, buy the manual.
Yeah, but
If you can drive
unless
it.
you can afford it.
That's not that different, and it's
Unless you can
12
afford it, 24.
Well,
no, sorry. If you're buying,
And there are other
Buy the
use
manual.
cases to it. If you're commuting, you know, maybe you don't want a
Well, plus,
manual.
if I'm sitting
Yeah,
here
yeah.
with 24 and I'm thinking,
mean-
okay, I'm going to be stuck in a high mileage older one.
Oh, no,
wait a
I
minute.
would
Here's
buy
an
the- oh, for
opportunity to
sure.
get into a new car. This isn't. It looks good.
It looks
looks great.
really nice.
And when you drive it around,
Nobody knows.
nobody knows it's a 24 one. They don't know that. They don't know the difference between a 24 one and a
Right.
56 one.
Right. No idea. I more
Look
mean
at
if
that.
you're buying a new M4, you'll get your money back. Oh wow, 1199 foundation plate.
Yeah, although it's fake.
Yeah, it's
they were all
deep fake.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Then that doesn't work anymore.
but
M4s are cheap.
wow, that's an
M4s are cheap.
impressive. Lot of car for the money, a lot of performance for the money.
Yep.
Kenan, you got any market trends for us?
BMW. Yes, there are a couple that I've noticed have kind of like settled. A lot of cars we're watching went through this crazy period of time.
Yeah.
And have settled. One of them, as it was very close to my heart, was the E36 M3. Like I mentioned it previously, but I will forever think of those as $6,000 cars. And some people say $6,000 driving experience, but they have settled like into the generally for decent ones with a manual. You're paying over 20 now.
And you know, there was a time when it looked like this front was taking off to a point where it was going to start following the 30 M3.
That is
Right.
what happened.
That did not occur.
That did not happen.
996 is the same. We thought it was going to maybe start, going to have its moment.
It didn't
Nah.
Oh.
But these cars, they are a lot of fun. I will say you had one.
Yeah.
And
You had we both.
I had one. Yeah, and they are also pretty reliable as M cars go. I still think a pretty good buy, but it is wild that you have to spend 20 for like a really nice one. This one was particularly nice. This manual sedan.
Man.
But
M345.
like. Yep, M345. Well done,
does he know
Filippo.
that?
Because he heard me say it once.
No, I distinctly remember when I started here. I wrote a story about a guy that bought an M345 from us. Your friend out in Pennsylvania.
Oh, yes.
And that's when I learned 3.5 years ago.
Here's a crazy thing for you. When I was in high school, middle school, high school, and I was on the forums, an E30 M3 was a 15 car. And if you spent 15, you knew you were going to get 15 and up was a good one, and 15 and lower was a ratty one. And that was the rule in 2002, 2003.
Wow.
Everyone knew that rule.
Right. And now we've gone like it went
It's a
like
little
this.
different. A little different.
And now we've got it. Yeah.
No, I'm talking about the E30.
Oh, the E30. Yeah. E30 is a little different. Although E30 values have also really cooled
A
down.
lot of stuff has. I'm actually kind of
It's still a lot of money to go slow, but it's less money than it once was.
not as a owner of cars and bids, but as an enthusiast, I am a little bit happier about the current state of the market.
Yeah.
Cars are declining in price like they should have been. Stuff's starting to get cheap. Like
We're returning to normality.
We're returning to normality, and stuff that should have been getting cheap. 991 911s is like the greatest example of this.
yes, that's
is
a
like
great
getting
one.
into prices where you're starting to look at it and you're like, maybe I should be thinking about this.
I've been waiting for that car to come down in value, the dot ones in particular, forever, because I think that would make such a good daily driver.
Click on Lotus.
Just like
You'll
get
be
useful.
surprised. We've
Yeah,
sold
we
us
got
some in the
cheap
40s.
ones.
Yeah, we certainly have. So like
42, 43, 45.
At that number, I mean that's a.
So you look at that and then you think, well,
And it's PDK.
I get
at
that
this
it's
point.
based in PDK, but like it's a daily.
Yeah, but it's PDK. It's not.
It's not.
It's a
tip.
good.
not,
It's a good.
but-
Very
well,
good transmission.
You start thinking to yourself, why do I get a 997?
Yep,
So then that starts to depress 997 values, which is probably what has had an effect on
And
996.
they have gone down, and so have 996 values. Finally, again.
This is the cause.
Yeah,
Because 991s
100%.
and 992s were just like staying at sticker for like all of COVID, and now life is very different.
Thank God for that.
40 as a consumer.
As a consumer,
Right,
thank
as someone
God
who
for that.
really wants a Porsche.
Somebody who models out our business less. But yeah.
Filippo, give us another market trend.
All right, I think it's time to go talk electric again.
Okay.
Model S.
Model S.
Oh,
Five
yeah,
Model
good
S's.
one.
We sold one yesterday. I find kind of searching fascinating.
It's wild. It's wild.
Well, first of all, we have 4 Model S's live, including serial number 1000.
This Model
but
S.
11.8.
This Model S
with the third row jump seats and a good color.
No, that is you don't even have to click it. That'll be it.
Why did
Yeah,
I not
that
buy that?
11.8 we sold the Model S for.
That's
Where Colorado? This would have been this is a great spec.
This
Model
is
S.
great proof also
Props
that-
to whoever bought this in 2013.
You shouldn't paint wheels black on a car that is not from the Black Wheels era. This is a great example of that.
Yeah.
However, other than that,
I mean,
yeah.
it looks pretty nice. 103,000 miles. So quite
And
a few
it
miles.
is a 60, which was
Kenneth,
the lowest.
A lot
trip.
of these
And it had an
Teslas are
accident.
getting crazy miles.
Yeah,
It turns
they're
out
reliable.
that Elon wasn't lying to us when he said they could go. Didn't we see one with like
What's the highest
200,000
mile
miles or
we've seen?
something?
Yeah, we sold over 200.
150,000 miles on
And
this one.
you hear of them with real mileage.
People have miles. Yeah.
Pretty remarkable.
But that Model S 60, which the 60 is
11.8.
fine, it's 300 horsepower. Although, all right, let's compare this. What else could you buy in
11.8.
2013 that had 300 horsepower? A 535i,
Type in
an F10
2013 into the search
535i,
bar. Let's find out.
right? Like,
No, just type in 2013. The year, the number.
Just the number.
just the number.
Let's see what we can get. Let's see what other stuff that came out in 2013 costs. Go down.
All right, 717
All right.
cars we sold from the year 2013.
G37S, which was cheaper at the time.
That's
$12 grand.
wild. The Model S is a bargain compared to that.
Kind of is. Also, same horsepower.
Dude, the Model S is a bargain compared to a lot of these.
A lot of
the
these.
S4 is a better car for sure, but it's double the price.
That 335i is, I don't know which I'd rather have.
Yeah, that's like a 1-to-1. That's interesting.
Yeah. For a second, I didn't see it there. I was hoping he was talking about the M3 as the 335i.
It's an
which would
M5.
be that is an M3, Filippo.
Oh,
We'll move
your
on.
screen you pointed up as you said that.
The story here is not just the Model S, though. It is electric cars in general have gotten
Well, I
tremendously
mean, when Tesla lowers their prices every 2
Tesla
months,
lowers their
it's
prices,
impossible.
the cars start to get old. At the end of the day, it is becoming shockingly affordable to buy one of these cars. My best example is Rivian. So we've talked about this before, but can it toss
You pull up
Rivian in there
and then go lowest price.
and then go lowest price?
R1Ts are sub 660 now.
It is and consistently.
Yeah.
It isn't like
Yeah,
a
that's
it isn't
not a
like
fluke.
That
one had a ton of miles. The one that sold for 52.
Honestly, impressive miles.
Generally speaking, this is no longer a fluke. If you look at the dates on all these, every one that is sold for 60 or less has been within the last 90 days.
Yep.
That's where this market is heading. That tells you where the
R1S for 66.
and that tells you where the SUV market is heading.
Yep.
And it's like this is starting to get at 40 something. This starts to get kind of interesting, and we're 6
there.
months from that.
Right. Which is what should happen, by the way. It's good. We sold the R1Ss for
It
130 early
seems to
on.
me like
Wow.
it's happening quicker to EVs. Type in
Yeah.
Taycan. Did you see that Taycan sale we
I
had?
did.
Okay.
But thankfully for me, we're only years away from my buying.
That Taycan,
Crossroads
that
one.
blue one, sold for 75. That's a 22. It had I looked, it had a 122 sticker.
Yep.
So that car lost 50 in value in 2 years and how many miles?
In 13,500 miles.
but
Dang.
that's what you expect from a full size Porsche. Panamera values.
That's true.
That's true.
that
That's
follows the same
also very
trajectory.
I have the feeling though that EVs are doing worse.
I wonder. Okay, can you find a Model 3? What's the cheapest Model 3 we've sold?
Oh, dude.
Cheap.
They are very inexpensive.
I mean, it's becoming kind of throwaway money. It's not there yet.
15 grand.
15
I mean that's one off, but a ton in the
It's not there
20s.
yet, obviously, but you can see where this is going. If we're selling Model S's for
Right.
11.8, when this car is that age, they're going to be 6 or 4.
Yeah.
man, that's hard
Yeah.
to believe. You can't. How do you argue with that at that point?
There's
I
no
think,
better electric car for that price.
At that
I
point,
think the concerns, like one of the reasons why it starts to happen, and this doesn't really apply to Rivian yet because they're not quite old enough, but like battery issues, I think is something that's on consumers'
Yeah,
minds.
people
Like it's
worry
going to be
about that.
expensive, but I think some of the benefits are like the updates come over the air. It's not like the old days where
At
like
some
if you
point
want
they'll stop supporting them.
at some point, but I mean they still support the stuff they rolled out originally.
Also,
So
still
like
identical.
you know, I
easier.
think that there's and it
that's
still
part of it
looks
too.
very much the
It
same.
looks the
That's
same.
true.
Even the facelift,
Yeah,
you go on the
nobody will.
Tesla forums, be like, "This is incredible. The front end looks so different." To a human,
To a non-fanatic,
they look identical.
right? To a non-car person,
You know what's going to start happening? People are going to buy these for $5. They're not going to have a place to charge it, so they're just going to plug it in like a toaster.
like the
Am I wrong?
No, you're not.
When
Go see some
okay,
interesting
let's say you're someone looking for a $5,000 used car in 5 years, and these are 5, or you can get a Versa, and you look at this and you
Right.
say, okay, well this is cool, it's relatively reliable. The only problem is I don't have a place to plug it in. I'm going to plug it in like a toaster. How long does that take to charge if you toaster it?
A day and a half.
I think it's like 8. It's like 8.
No, I think
No, it's longer.
I think it's like
These
really
are
long.
big batteries. It's no longer like a Leaf.
But maybe yeah. That's something to
I mean,
consider.
like, that's a bar. What can you buy new for 20? Nothing. A Mirage isn't
Mirage
sold anymore, but like a Versa maybe is 20.
Right, and this car is
I would
3-4
buy
years old.
I would buy a 3-year-old Model 3 over a Versa.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
all day long.
I actually saw a Mirage the other day. I was driving around town, saw a Mirage, like G4, whatever the trim level was, and I was like, man, there's somebody who just didn't look at used car values. Just buy something else. But
The only way
There are
that you end up
reasons,
on one
but-
of those is Mitsubishi will finance people who used cars loan dealers won't.
Yeah.
maybe.
Even then.
Even then. Even then.
Wow. I mean, no wonder every last Uber I've been in has been
Yeah.
Model 3.
And you know
Yeah,
what?
that makes sense. I like
They're
that.
nicer. I was just
Yeah.
in New York
Yeah,
City.
it's
It's quiet.
Another
It's
Corolla.
quiet. I was just in New York City. We took every manner of taxi and Uber Black and Uber X, everything, depending on what was available. And I rode in
Fancy.
everything from an Escalade to whatever the Ford Transit Connect with
Yeah. Ooh,
mismatched
cool.
tires. Yeah, and the nicest one of all was a Y. You just get better than Escalades because Ubers have some propensity to destroy the suspension in their Escalades at an unbelievable level. And so you're in an Escalade, but you're going around, and every time you go over a bump, it's like.
That is so consistently true. Everyone.
What is the deal?
Well,
Why does every Uber Escalade have 300,000 miles? Where did the first 300,000 miles go? You would think that they would have used those 300,000 miles doing Uber. And so you'd at some point get into one that only has like 8,000
Right.
miles, and that would still be nice.
It's part of the limo service at that point.
Right, the
till
limo
you get
service
out.
before they
Right.
flip
Right.
it to Uber.
Right. Wait, speaking of taxis, didn't you have a taxi-related topic?
This brings us to our next segment, which is things that are happening.
Things that are happening.
Okay. There's a lot of things that are happening.
Yeah. Start us off.
Okay. My Land Rover Defender went away yesterday.
Yeah.
The Fender 90.
End of an
Yes.
era. I waved goodbye. I rode up. It was here at our office. We sent it up in the elevator. He drove
rode
it
up
out
with me, yeah.
And I waved goodbye
Did
to
it
him, watch it go
start?
around the corner.
It did.
Oh yeah, it started
Perfect.
beautifully. It
And
ran
it didn't
perfect.
even give out clouds of smoke, as has happened years ago before you got that fixed.
Yeah, no, it's in
a-
good shape, and I'm not surprised that it's fine. And it's going off to New York. I've had that car 7 years. On
To the day,
Friday,
you
it'll be
said.
7 years exactly.
Wow.
And now
Wow.
it's gone upstate New York, and that's that.
We'll never see it again.
Yeah,
Because I don't go to upstate New York very often.
yeah, way upstate, like
Yeah.
Saratoga.
Wow.
It's gone.
How,
It's
tell us how you're feeling
fine.
in public on the podcast.
You know, I got assailed on Instagram. People are like, you're selling your lifeblood. People, every time a YouTuber sells a car, people get incredibly upset.
Yeah.
You can't buy, you're selling out, you're getting rid of all the stuff that makes you you. This is like the main, every time.
Right.
Every time. And it doesn't matter what car, you could have bought it yesterday. When I bought my A-Class, I announced I was going to be keeping it for like an afternoon, and I did.
Yeah.
And then people are like, I can't believe you're already selling that. It's like, what the hell? But I'm thrilled to be downsizing my amount of
Yeah.
cars. In the next, in the 90-day span that started when I sold that A-Class, I will sell 4 cars.
Land Cruiser is live right now.
Land
It
Cruiser's
won't be
live right
by
now.
the time this podcast is. Oh, it will be. It'll still be live. Goes
Yeah.
up, close on Monday.
And then
What's that,
I'm
by the
selling
way?
my wife's car, and it's just going to be great. It's going to be great.
Goodbye, Doug's wife's car.
There it
it
is. That
Hey, just for consumer advice, can you go to all the photos and just scroll to underbody?
All right, so this is my second thing that's happening. There's been some comments about people were very upset that I used this car.
How dare you?
How dare you?
How
The
dare
fact
you.
that you go and use
How dare you.
this thing.
Did whoever clean it get out all the sand, you think?
It looks a little rusty.
Oh
you know,
my
the
God.
Comments, the comments have been interesting. People are commenting in California. People are kind of, oh my, this is the worst thing I've ever seen.
Right.
A
Anybody
couple
on the
people
East
who have
Coast
popped
is-
in on the East Coast are like, this is my truck is so much less rusty than this that I daily.
Yeah,
I think.
this is not problematic for us.
No,
Yes.
I think that if you're smart, you try to get under here with like undercoating and actually do it right. Like I should have.
But like on the East Coast, this looks bad, but it's not abnormal.
No,
Oh no! If you were in the north, this would be
not
like a
unusual.
normal, regular.
When
roll.
I'm from the Midwest, I've certainly seen worse, but it doesn't mean it's good.
Yeah,
It
it's about
especially
living
isn't
next to the
good
ocean
considering it
for-
happened in
wow.
only 2 years. Because I
Right.
bought this
Yes.
car and it was clean.
This emphasizes what, like living next to salt air. I know I get made
Yep.
fun of for saying it, but it's like, I mean, I'm not wrong here. Like this is a lot. Now, granted, you also took this on the beach, and it did get wet. I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, when I bought this car, there was never a thought that I would sell it. My thought was I was just going to use it
Yeah.
until it
until it died, one day,
died, which
for a Toyota could
it
be
did several times actually, and that's why I'm getting rid of it. So
Yep.
Ooh,
The
nicely
unreliable.
Done, Frank, taking
Yeah,
pictures with a nice Suburban behind
yeah,
you.
look at that nice Suburban.
yes,
So-
the paragon of reliability that's supposed to be the Land Cruiser.
Well, you know
was
what's funny?
not
So I
that way
also
for you.
people have been giving me crap because I spent all this money at the dealer trying to fix it up. before I got
13
rid of it.
grand. There's a receipt.
And people are like, you're insane for spending this much. And some people said I was insane for spending that much on it. And then a whole other group of people said, I can't believe you didn't do the other 3 things that these engines are famous for failing. And it's like, oh my God, this isn't as reliable as everybody says, I don't think.
No, it has a prototype of reliability. Everybody just assumes. But in actuality, it's a truck from 11 years ago.
Yeah,
and
that.
Right.
And it
And it just
literally
has
has
stuff.
some problems. Radiators fail, starters failed. They're known on this powertrain. It has as many factory grenades as an E60 M5, as it turns out.
No, it doesn't. No, I assure you it doesn't.
I think it does. They're just way less expensive.
Yeah.
To deal with.
No, I don't think that's true. I agree they're less expensive, but the E60, I think it has more.
Whole different level.
You know, like for instance, you have to change the battery on this car. You have to change the battery. That's at E60 M5. Change the battery. You have to tell the car there's a new battery. You have to code the battery to the car. And that's not an unreliability thing, but that sure is annoying.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
That's
now, I
good.
would also like it noted that, you make fun of me for how unreliable my M5 is, and it's this money pit that never ends. We spent the same money on maintenance last year. That car,
What about
my
your
car.
prior?
No, your prior I spent, I think you put
There
the
we go.
3 years.
He puts 13 in every year.
Right.
No, the 3 years before that, I don't think I spent anything. It just oil changes and that was it. So, bye-bye Land Cruiser. Not sad
Yeah.
about that one. The Defender, I'm going to miss a little bit. I know I didn't have to deal with it or take care of it or ship it across the country or any of that, or store it in the winter.
It'll just be nice to.
But it
be
was-
able to-
it
I need
was
less
the
going
user.
on.
I know you need
going
less
It
going
would be
on.
sad
But,
to see. Actually, I have never liked your Land Cruiser, and I don't feel strongly about this at all.
well, the Land Cruiser, I couldn't care less about the Land Cruiser. I didn't like it. Didn't like it this summer. I still don't like it now. But nonetheless, it will go away to somebody else.
My other happening is I
Yeah.
was in New York City, and there was always a lot of weird car things in New York City. But I saw a postal police vehicle.
As in, it is the police that the post service has.
I presume.
Yeah,
I mean-
it exists.
Okay.
It was like that time Newman Jerry got interrogated, I think, by the postal.
by that, right, in that like dimly lit room. And
Doug's life
they
eventually
convict him,
becomes a Seinfeld
and Jerry
episode.
goes, "All right, what's the penalty?" And Newman's like, "It'll be a small fine."
Exactly.
Okay. Postal police vehicle.
Yeah.
I want you to guess what it was. Now, as you know, the federal government has to buy American-made products.
Was it a new car?
Yeah.
Okay.
What new American-made that would be notable enough for me to bring it up here? What new American-made car is the postal police driving? Think about it. Imagine you work for the post office and you're in procurement.
The Volkswagen Passat.
Okay. Much more esoteric. Kenan, give us the picture. That's too obvious.
Wow. A Subaru Ascent.
I don't know what has happened.
No way. I mean, it is made in
This
Indiana.
is a postal police vehicle, a
Wow.
Subaru Ascent.
Honestly, that works with the livery and everything.
Do you think that yeah, I know it fits right into the little
It
hole
really
in the
does.
lights. Do you think that the post office is going to have as many issues with the Ascent as all the people who bought them? Do you think their transmission will fail within the first 1,100
They're
miles?
used to some level of unreliability from their
fleet.
other vehicles.
The Grumman
Although
LLV.
those are incredibly reliable.
Although I do love that, this is what I would have pictured. But they're
Yeah.
like, nah,
I love that the
we
post
want a little
office does that.
spice, So
A little spice. Go for the Subaru version.
Right.
I do wonder if you're the procurement person
Yeah.
for the postal police, why branch out? Why not just continue to order Explorers? Make life easy. Presumably they do
question.
their own mechanic work.
Right.
They got to work on a
I wonder what
Subaru
if there's-
Ascent.
I wonder if they had issue getting Explorers. Because every
You
police
think it
department in
happened during
America
COVID?
and every police department in America wants it.
And nobody had trouble getting
that.
Ascents.
It's hard to tell from the back, but that's
Maybe
pre-facelift.
that's
so that's at least a
reasonable.
year.
Oh,
old.
so that is the Ascent that blew up. That is
Yeah.
the Ascent with trans problems.
Yeah.
They probably
It's-
rated 6
It
transmission.
might, if I'm wrong here, it's really hard to tell from the back. The front is the only part that really had a facelift, but
You say they're on 6 transmit. How many things do you think the postal police are driving around to?
I think that
bet
they are
not
going
many.
after male offenders.
they're in
And-
high-speed chases.
They're
They're
You used the
jumping
wrong postage.
curbs.
You've been forging stamps.
You've been forging stamps. They got to go out to Brooklyn to talk to a guy about forging stamps, and so they get in the Ascent.
Would you rather drive?
Pile in,
the-
guys. We're going.
Unfortunately, to that many people, it causes the transmission to fail before they even get and so it's all over.
Do you think that as a postal police employee, you prefer it when you get the Ascent instead of the Explorer?
Yes, except for the 1 out of every 3 times you take it out and the transmission
blows
grenades.
up. Right.
That's the problem with the postal police
Yeah.
Ascent.
Yeah.
By the way, The Ascent is a great car. They fixed the transmission problems. If you had one of the first 3 years of Ascent, you're on your 11th transmission. Maybe it's engine.
I think it's both.
There were a lot of issues.
The
early Ascents had a lot of issues.
The E60 M5 of Subaru.
The E60 M5.
Well, that's not true.
No.
I'm sure there's some other. There's some WRXs and STIs.
Well, but it's head gaskets otherwise.
Right, that's
Me and Filippo could knock out a head gasket in a weekend with a pack of cold ones.
They just
You wouldn't even know where to point to a head
No,
gasket.
I know exactly where the head gasket is. It's right where the engine is.
Also, cold what? Out of curiosity.
You mean get some cold brews, do a Subaru head gasket or 3. Legacy 2.5
Some
GT were there.
Nice.
Okay, do you have any interesting happenings?
Do I have anything happening? That's a good question. I gotta think about this for a second. We've only been preparing for a couple of days. Kenan, please.
So I'm preparing. So I'm still on the quest for a sports car.
Yeah.
I've really recently we got a really cool BMW into Cars and Bids. We have an E34 M540i. And people are like, "Is that real?" Yes,
I asked myself, did they mean that year? And they did.
Yes, it was a Euro E34 M5 because they're running out of production, like they wanted to finish off the E34, they made a V8 powered version of the car with all the Euro M5 cool touches specifically for the Canadian market for some reason. And they got 32 of them. There are 32.
Oh, it's a bizarre story.
It's a bizarre story, but there are 32.
There are a lot of weird end of life E34s.
Yep. But this one I think is in my opinion, is what the E34 M5 always should have been. And it got a V8. 6-speed manual transmission, limited slip differential, it got the cool adjustable suspension, all that stuff.
The right wheels.
And
People don't realize that the E34 world, the M5 had a 6-cylinder, but then you could get a V8.
Right.
Now the M5 was the most powerful.
Yes, the
6-cylinder was like 280 horse, and this M5 was like 315.
That's correct.
But
still, wouldn't you rather have a V8? And of course, then they did that with
and then
the
they
next
did
M5.
After that, there was
and
never
sold tons of them.
I think that was the last time where there was a discrepancy like that. Like after that, the M car was always lived at the top.
Right.
Of the...
Well, yeah. At the time, the M brand in the United States really struggled. E34 M5s were a hard sell. So was the E28 before it. The E30 was a hard sell. The E24. All of those cars were difficult sells. Then along came the E36 M3, which changed everything, and then the E39 M5 helped really cement the brand in the United States.
Yeah.
But
where's this going? Are you going to buy
so
an E34?
I really want that car, but
gorgeous.
It's so the E30. Yeah, it's exactly duplicative.
So we want a sports car. We've talked him into an Aston Martin V8 Vantage.
Yes.
Roadster.
Now I want a manual, of course. Impossible to find. They are manual.
3 people bought
convertibles
Roadster and a.
But nobody wanted, because with the convertibles at the time, I think people bought the god awful sport shift transmission because they wanted to cruise and they wanted it to be effortless.
How awful was it?
It was not good, but listen to this.
A sin against humanity.
Aston, they made the Vantage through 15. Aston built 15,500 V8 coupes, 6,200 V8 Roadsters. It's 3-to-1 basically.
Yeah.
Coupe to Roadster. So already you're playing at a disadvantage if you want a Roadster. And then I agree with you. I suspect that the Roadsters had more of the tips.
Yeah, we'll call it hypothetically 2/3 of them are probably tips.
Yeah.
More.
So realistically, not a lot to choose from.
Yeah.
And all I want, I just want I think that tungsten gray or one of the darker colors looks great on that car. I just don't want it to be black. I just can't deal with swirls and dirt, and I just can't deal with it.
What about white?
I don't think it looks great in white. There was one that came up locally.
One came up locally. It was on Facebook Marketplace. White stick, owned by an old guy, maintained by an old guy. Ken's nah. And
because
everybody I know sent this car to Ken, and he was like, nah. And we were all
no, he sent it. Our friend group agreed. However, the interior was blue,
you will own this car
was blue.
for 11 minutes. It does not matter
the
color of the car. You will own it for 11 minutes.
Part of the beauty of the car is looking at it. And
so then you're going to overpay for one.
I have learned the 355 was not the color I wanted, as it turned out. That was an accident. But I'm only going to buy the color I want.
You're going to have the car for 11 minutes. You should just
be able to enjoy it.
Buy an car.
It was a lot of blue. The entire interior is blue. The steering wheel. I mean, it just wasn't
well, that answers that.
I just don't. Dashboard should be black. The carpets should be black. Everything was blue.
Courage, GT.
And it's just I
think that's a mistake too. In that era, and you know, if you got the red interior in the Carrera GT, the entire steering wheel is red. At least mine is half black. I agree with you. I think if a car has a red interior, that doesn't mean we want 1980s
I don't want it,
General
you want
Motors
the
Oldsmobile
seats to be
Cutlass
red.
Sierra, like the seatbelt buckles.
Yeah.
are red. Okay? That's not what I'm looking for.
That's so true. But exactly, the interior, the exterior is one thing. The interior is really important because that's where you spend the time when you're using the car. And it was
but you're
blue.
gonna own it for 9 minutes.
Well,
and
also,
I
but
have
it
a
also
suspicion that when you go to sell it, you can be like,
Yeah.
"This is special," and people be
I
like,
agree with that.
"Ooh."
Yeah,
People
or
love
people are
weird
gonna look at it and go,
car
"It
combos.
might be special, but it's special for a reason." And like,
People
Dude,
love weird
look
cars.
at old Porsches. Old Porsches that are heinous.
Yeah, those are old
Are
Porsche-
selling for
right.
big money right now because they're special, even though they're.
Yep.
yeah, but as stated previously, a manual Roadster alone makes it special. So
Pull
like,
up
I don't need it
Pull
to
up
be.
that 986 Boxster in that green that we sold. Remember this?
Yeah, of course.
I'll never forget
I
it.
want it deeply.
This was years ago.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
Weasel Hunter will never find it.
Oh man.
Go to
It's
page
like, it's
8.
like it's like.
Oh, you're talking about the
Yes,
the
I
tip
am.
one, Nephritis green. I
Was
think,
it a tip?
or was it was Wilbur?
No, it was.
Oh no, there's a
It
I
was
know
actually
what you're
a
looking
pretty
for.
low mile one. So if you go to lowest
no,
mileage, you'll
filter.
find it eventually.
And it was an auto. Or no, it was a manual.
was a
The reason
manual.
I keep saying that is there's a twin to this
you go.
car.
No.
Yeah,
it
yeah,
wasn't.
yeah,
Yes,
that one,
this
that
one,
one.
that one,
That's
that
right,
one.
green with
There's
a
a twin
teal
with a-
exterior.
Yeah, Wimbledon. Yeah. So
Dude, this brought 19. This is
God.
heinous over heinous.
I know,
That's
but-
the color combination. Heinous metallic over heinous full leather. That's the color combination. I personally, of course, would love to have.
Right, exactly. If you're the owner of this car, we love it. Dearly.
It is so ugly that it's attractive, and I think people
It's
just
so
want
true.
special because every Aston is silver.
God.
Look at the seat. Look at the carpet. Go back to any of those carpet shots. The carpet. He clicks the full thing.
The carpet.
it's faster to
Look
get
at
back to
this.
it's faster to navigate that way. But yeah, the carpet is green.
I didn't know if there was this little storage cubby there.
I didn't know that either.
Surprised it wasn't green.
Yeah.
I am
The
surprised.
roll hoop. I mean, this is a heinously interior car. I can't believe the
I
steering
just
mean,
look,
that
if
is-
I
that is
am
a
going to
different era
spend
for
my
Porsche.
money and I have to look at my car, I want it the way I want it. I don't want
he
some.
will, in his defense, he'll spend 5 hours
horrible-
a week cleaning it, and he's got to stare at it a lot.
Well, and it's also here, and other people are subjected to staring at it. So like, I want what I want.
I think white looks good.
also disagree with that completely. I think the dark colors look better on that car generally. I would settle for a silver one, but 2 silver cars is kind of boring.
Yeah.
But
Can I change
nonetheless,
topics?
that car is on my list of like sports cars that I want. I still think a Z4M Roadster would be
Yeah.
cool.
We
They're about
posted
the same.
perfect one for you the other day.
If you would,
was
an
not-
Aston
it-
or a
not
Z4
quite.
Roadster, come on.
Huh?
No question. You want an Aston over
Yeah,
there.
but the S54 engine is so special. And we were recently talking about how we've lost something with losing carburation. God,
we don't get a carburetor.
I'm not going to get a carbureted car, but
Also, how does
the fuel one of the beauties of carbureted cars is that they have such wonderful throttle response because it's a linkage and they have individual throttle bodies. They have throttles on each of them.
Okay, got it.
The
I see the
E46
connection now.
M3, the S54 has ITBs.
Any way
which is
that Kenan
wonderful.
can get into individual throttle bodies, he
Yep.
will get us there.
Yep.
Because
Correct.
it just gives you such control and sharpness and that engine is probably, in my opinion, it's the best naturally aspirated 6-cylinder of all time. And it's BMW's debatably their best engine. It's the most BMW engine of them all. I would really like that. E46 M3 is a little too similar to the E39 M5. Z4M is rare, cool, only offer the manual. Got lots of cool bits from the CSL. I think they're very special cars. I would like to have one at some stage.
Get an Aston. What were you going to say?
The last thing I want to talk about is, in addition to that E34 M540i, a Dodge Durango SP360 came yesterday.
Shelby SP360.
And it is the coolest car we've ever had.
got
in
a
this office.
blower. It's got a blower,
Nick-
a body
Nick
kit,
and
and
I
Viper
spent-
colors.
20 minutes just staring at it.
Well, it's
when
also
it
got
arrived.
second row bucket seats.
It's got second
Does
row.
it?
And it has a third row.
No
it does
way.
have a third row.
Is the third row's a bench? Was
Yeah.
this how many did they make? 300?
I haven't looked into
You know,
it.
we hosted this one before.
We did, yeah. And it has 10,000 miles. You're going to review it.
Yep.
Can't
wait.
It came down thanks to our friends at Curus Autos.
Literally can't wait to review this.
It is the single coolest car we've had here.
It's also the only time in history these two cars have been mentioned
I
in
know.
the same sentence
right.
together.
But also America.
Could you
Red,
imagine
white, blue.
driving on
Yeah,
the 5 and you
well,
pass this?
I pointed
Somebody
this out.
did.
You have red, white, and blue in two cars.
Two cars.
But yeah.
I just wanted to say that it's really cool. That's it.
You're cruising around. You're cruising on the 5 past all these boring Teslas
Right.
and stuff down Camp Pendleton, and then you pass this E34 and an SP360 Durango.
Which would you rather have?
It's like 2004, just used cars.
The BMW.
Kenan?
If you
I would
need to
take-
ask.
obviously. But
Have you driven the Durango?
yeah, I drove it in here, but it's just.
However, our friend Nick, who loves crazy SUVs, that's perfect for him. I love German sedate sedans,
Also,
although really got some flair with the color. That one's for me.
Our final topic here on this car podcast, we're going to take questions. Now, the questions that we have this week, this is our first podcast. These questions are coming to us from our previous live shows. And these are questions we didn't get to. But in the future, questions will be on the community tab on carsandbids.com. We're going to create a post every week where you can submit your questions. You go into our community tab, you post your question, and then we will answer it. But this week, we have the old live questions, and I will ask 4 of them or so. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Okay. Derek Butts asks, when are you going to review the Ineos Grenadier? I filmed it yesterday, and the review will go up in a couple of days after the podcast goes up, and I liked it.
This is a rare instance where you go, normally you get asked that question and you go, you got one?
I actually thought it was good. I assume you don't like it.
No, I think I don't care about it. The market, though, is not strong on them.
No.
They're trading for under MSRP already.
If you try to flip expensive.
You'll lose 20 grand.
Yeah, they are expensive, and they have a very small which is like you. Yeah,
you are the market.
It's people
for this car.
market. Yeah, they have a very small buyer market. It's people who miss the old school trucks and SUVs, and are willing to spend $85 for a new one, and don't want to even take the step forward into like a new Defender or a new G-Wagon. That's like too far for that. So it's a sliver of people.
Which model did you review?
The Trial Master. Here's a crazy fact for you.
Trail Master?
No.
Trial Master?
It is called the Trial Master. There are 2 trails. There's a base model, and then there's the Trial Master and the Field Master.
Right.
Everyone online calls it the Trail Master.
For obvious reasons.
Person who owned the car said, I said, which trim do you have? He said, it's the Trail Master. I said, well, no. It is called the Trial Master. It is named after a high-quality jacket. That is also called the... You're looking this up, and you're like, oh, interesting.
I'm looking for sure.
The Trial Master.
Ooh, the Fusilier is coming.
Anyway, it was pretty good. You know what powers the Grenadier?
No, I don't.
You don't?
You don't?
No,
this is up your alley.
B58 6-cylinder from...
B58.
From the...
B58's in like it's on all the 6-cylinder BMWs.
And the Toyota Supra.
And the Supra.
I was really impressed with that, though. I thought it was pretty good.
It is Trial Master.
There's a lot of complaints online about the driving experience, and I think that they're unfounded. I think that a lot of the people who are complaining, took a long time to think about it, and I think a lot of the people who are complaining are young people who don't have the old SUV nostalgia that I have, and then a lot of older people have.
Yeah.
They never spent time in their parents' Montero or Isuzu Rodeo or rode in a Defender in Britain as a kid.
Yep.
And I think that those people are like, the driving is crap. And it's like, well, that's how it was. And that's some people long for that. Just like how some people long for a manual transmission. And a lot of other people are like, why would
I don't know. Harry Metcalf, who also in like his review of it says that my friend's involved with the company, even so, like the kindest thing he said about it basically was that it's not finished.
There are things that could be improved, but I liked it more than I expect. Seeing reviews like that, I went in to drive it and thought it was going to be trash.
And it was less.
Really
so you
trash.
set your bar
I'm not surprised
down here, and it came here. And
I wouldn't buy one.
Would you buy it over the Defender?
Absolutely not. Because
Especially
the
for the
tech
same...
is better in the self-driving and all that stuff that I look for in a car. But I could understand why someone who really likes the old school SUV and doesn't and thinks that today's are like too soft, too like daycare drop-off. It's appealing.
Where will you see them?
Yeah,
daycare drop-off.
I know. And there's already 2 in my neighborhood doing use that exact purpose.
Just super niche.
Kenan, do you know why they called it the Grenadier?
I do not.
It was the bar they were in when they decided to build it.
God,
that's not a joke.
Exactly.
Okay. Next question from Chintan. Would you suggest a Bentley Arnage, an $18,000 Bentley Arnage to a recent college graduate as a first car? Kenan, take it away. I believe you have some.
No.
Okay, next question.
No, unless you're mechanically inclined. I mean, like even then, the cars are relatively, but parts are very expensive. Like, sure, you could fix it yourself if you know what you're doing. Parts are very expensive on this car, so I just wouldn't.
Can I give a different opinion? If you were at a point in your life as a 22-year-old recent college graduate where you're doing okay otherwise, that's the only time you should buy it, because the mistake won't impact your life quite as much.
That's an interesting point. I had
later in life. No,
I had someone tell me he was talking to a kid who was
Yeah.
talking about his life, and the kid was talking about cars, and he was talking about like getting some boring Honda Civic type thing, and the guy told him, you need a headache.
Yeah.
That's what you need
Right.
in your life.
Right.
Like if you're a recent college grad, you got a lot more time on your hands than any of us do.
Maybe you got like a good job. You can pay for those parts. You don't need to save.
Well,
for
yeah.
It'd be a
that
fun
year.
thing to say
Sure, if you-
25 years
Right.
from now when
You
you,
can
have
actually
kids
have
in a
fun with
Honda
it.
Odyssey. Be
Right.
like, hey, I had a
Yep.
Bentley or not.
Assuming you have the money to invest in this and the time also.
Yeah,
Sure.
and it
But-
will be a mistake. You will regret it, but
But you'll get interesting stories
Yeah.
out of it. There is something to that.
There's something to that.
However, it could also be a total
Yeah.
nightmare and an absolute disaster, and you learn a lesson.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
You'll know.
depends
I
on
did
how you
not
need to learn.
do this.
Yeah.
Neither did Kenan, and if Kenan didn't do it,
I still wouldn't do it, by the way.
Be baller as hell though if you did.
can we talk
Oh,
about the
could
first?
you imagine?
Oh no, I can't. Great taste, I have to say.
Here's a good one from Portfolio Automotive. Which Cadillac V car is the best?
Oh.
Easy,
He thinks it's easy.
easy. I'm ready.
Okay.
Can I tell you which is the least good?
Yeah, let's do that next. Okay, you think the best is the 5V Blackwing stick.
Yes.
Probably you're right. What about the V-Wagon?
Yeah.
The V-Wagon is a really, really close second, but you had one. Remember that interior?
Alcantara.
Is that what you call nice?
People really hated that interior. I
Yes.
never hated it as much as everybody else. Let me
It's
tell you
bad.
something. Getting a
Now, the
2008
first
Mercedes
one,
Benz,
the first CTSV.
The interior of that
is a
is
bad
a nightmare.
interior, but
that
cheap
interior
speed.
was an insult to their customers. Like that interior was them being like, how much trash can we give these people
Right.
and they will still buy it?
Just keep shoving it down their throats.
How bad can we make it?
The answer is bad. My wife's great aunt has an early CTS, not
It's
just regular,
It's bad.
and it still has 30,000 miles all these years later. It's so bad.
But without
I agree
question,
with you, V Blackwing. I agree, V Blackwing. V Wagon is a very close.
very
second.
close second.
I
I
would
would agree
agree.
with that.
V Blackwing.
No, wagon.
V Wagon. Okay,
Yeah.
what is the worst V car?
STSV.
No! No! That was great. What? Supercharged V8, 440 horsepower, and they looked cool. It was subtle.
Okay, what is the worst?
CTSV Coupe Auto.
Yeah, good point. I also hate
The
the way the
CTSV
second gen
coupe-
CTS coupe looks.
I think of
It's
its
a
era, the
weird-looking car.
the CTSV
It's
might be the ugliest performance car of its time.
The-
It's just
the coupe?
The coupe.
Yeah.
Is
So
especially because the sedan looked
So
awesome.
they look great. The wagon looked
Wagon
good.
looked great. Coupe. What
Weird.
the hell?
I'm not sure. It looks like a ski jump.
It's like the rear's like all pinched and
Yeah.
like
It
doesn't
and
make
big
sense.
somehow.
It's
It's
so
just not. I would wholeheartedly. We're aligned on all
Do
that.
we like the XLR? Out of curiosity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The car is cool.
Have you
It was a
seen one in person
Corvette for
recently?
people who couldn't have a Corvette
Get
for
in and
personal
out of a-
reasons.
Have you
Corvette.
seen one recently?
No, an XLR, regular or V?
Either.
I saw one in Los
Doesn't matter.
Angeles. when I was
Regular
there.
I see. V, it's
I
been
don't know
forever.
that they've aged well.
No, yeah.
But they're
that
art-
whole edgy
art and
design.
science.
But it's cool. You see it and it's like it's so different from everything else.
It
It's
is
instantly recognizable as an XLR.
I stand by
and they're
STSV.
they're cool.
Not performance-y enough.
No, it was
No.
cool. The worst V is probably the V Coupe. An ATS-V
Yeah.
Auto, but that's still a
ATS-V
good car.
Auto is
Those are still good
I was
cars.
gonna say, but it is a competent car. Yeah, I agree with that.
It just wasn't like as cool. Escalade V is frankly one of the answers.
No, that's in a weird
Yeah, but that's
way.
kind of cool.
Yeah.
yeah, I know.
It's gauche, but it's cool.
Okay,
Sounds
last question. Last question. From Chris S.
Ooh.
in Concord, North Carolina. No, it doesn't say that. I'm just assuming. How long before EVs become a thing for the larger U.S.?
I think we're.
I think we're there.
No,
I mean, I see.
I mean, you don't see that. We live
I guess
in
you don't see.
California.
I don't. I mean, I
We're
saw
getting
them.
closer and
I saw
closer.
them all over. I saw them all over Texas. I see them all over Ohio. I saw them. I see them everywhere. I guess. I think I said this once that like
yeah.
once the range
And
was
generally, you agree
500
with
miles. Yeah, when the range is over 500 miles, but like. I don't know.
I don't think that people actually need that range.
Exactly.
It's-
I don't think that that's the case.
You're pulling up some stats here.
I'm pulling up
Because
the
he
stats.
said he sees them all over Texas and Ohio, and you decided I need to refute that.
The Model Y was the single best-selling car
In
in
the world.
Washington, California, Nevada, Colorado, Virginia, Delaware, and DC, and Maryland.
Those are the coasts.
Right.
Plus Colorado, which
Plus
is
Colorado.
effectively
And Nevada.
a bunch of coastal people have moved
And
to
Nevada.
Colorado. Nevada, come on. The whole population of Nevada is in Las Vegas.
But
And
like-
Reno, which are they cling to the California border. They're all like, we hate California. Oh, by the way, if we walk 14 steps, we're in California.
But you get the point. Like we're nearing the point now where they're
the
top
selling car.
They're in the top, either the Model 3 or the Model Y is in the top 10 in a lot of states.
No.
We need better charging infrastructure.
Yeah.
Still. And especially for non-Tesla EVs.
You see that Shell is going to convert a couple thousand gas stations to EV chargers?
We still got a ways, and I think manufacturers are discovering this because their EVs are not selling. But we're getting closer.
You know what my problem is with the EVs? It takes a while to charge them.
Yep. There is something to that.
Battery
What's going on
technology
there?
needs to improve more before I think they're everywhere.
It is my problem. I've bought this giant new SUV,
Hybrid.
and it's a hybrid. And if people are like, why don't you get an R1S? And it's because I drive across the country, and I can't imagine doing that drive in an electric car. And people are like, but I did it in an electric car. Well, I do it faster than you, and that's not real.
No. It's why our daily driver is not an electric car.
Right.
We drive 500-mile distances frequently.
Yeah,
That's a problem.
It's a problem. So that's the answer to this question is when that happens. I think we're so far away from
If you're
that.
in the suburbs of Columbus, it doesn't matter. You're driving 10 miles.
Or
Right,
me
like-
in San Diego, honestly. Like, I don't drive all that far. An electric car would be a good solution.
Kenan will
but
buy a nice i5 the moment.
pry
You want an
those-
i5?
Not to replace the M5. The thing
Yeah.
is, it always has to be, no.
Yeah?
Nothing. You can pry those keys from my dead cold hands. You know why? Because it doesn't have a third pedal. I'm sticking with my M5 because I love the third pedal. So I'm around here getting like 11 miles to the gallon. Meanwhile, Filippo's driving across Arizona, just chilling.
I'm getting 30,
his
by
use
the way,
case
when I
is
do that.
actually right.
I think it's going to be a long, long time. I think the middle of the country is
But it
nowhere
also-
near
I think
accepting
yeah,
this.
I think
People
that-
and plumbing
I
this
don't
into their
know that that's-
houses. And
I agree
I
that
don't know if that's true.
infrastructure-wise for the middle of the country,
it's also become politicized, and I think that's going to stop people from doing it. Even though for a lot of people it does make sense for their use case. I think we're a
long ways from what?
from like them being the majority car. From
I
them
mean,
being
sure,
75%.
But the average age of a car is 11 years old. Like it's going to take a long time.
No, the majority
regardless.
even of new cars.
Yeah, it'll be.
I
a
mean,
while.
Model Y is the most
But
popular, but I guarantee even in those states, gas cars probably outsell
yeah.
electric.
Yeah,
10
for sure.
to 1. No, I think it's an interesting question, but I think it's a long way off still. There you go. Those are our questions. Remember,
Great.
you can ask questions next week on the community tab at carsandbids.com. Thank you for tuning in to this Car Pod, and we'll see you next week. Goodbye. Everyone.
Goodbye.